have made it to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show that looks to inform, educate, and hopefully make you laugh. Stu and the Nunn is a show focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. Like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors are Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of, let me adjust that mic volume just a hair, Stu and the Nunn special episode with Dr. Mike Simpson. We are online streaming. You can see us right now. You can see Dr. Mike down there. We haven't seen him in about a month, and we can tell by his beard he hasn't shaved since then. And how you doing, Mike? How's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good, good. And we got Toby there in the up north in the southern studio. Stu here in the northern studio at 53 degrees here in western New York, and probably a tad chillier than the great ATX, Austin, Texas, where you two gentlemen are at, or the suburbs of Austin, should I say. Toby is either frozen or he's really focusing on the socials.
Oh, I'm trying to focus, man. Like my infantry mind is you're going crazy with all this technology.
You're like,
ugh.
You're like, yeah.
If it's outside the realm of 7-8, I solve it sometimes.
That's why you had an RTO.
We're good.
The RTO filled at Vincent and got that comms up and running.
Well, the sad part, I started as an RTO. That was one of my first gigs. Back in the day.
Having worked with you on this show for so long, that cracks me up. Maybe that gig didn't last long, did it?
No. Well, the funny thing is we transitioned from the Singars to the ASIP, and it was part of that Force 21. So this is mid 90s, and FBCB2 came out, and they sent me to the class, and I passed it, and I was one of the only junior members that took the class, that passed the class, and everyone's like, man, you're gonna be our guy. And I was like, I'm so fucked. It doesn't involve guns. I'm in trouble deep.
Yeah.
Like a Madonna song. But hey, we're not here to talk about pop. We're here to talk overreach. And man, there's so much going on in the world right now. But something has happened in the past couple of weeks that is just no one's really talking about it. Some people are talking about it, but no one's really talking about it. And I think it's right up our alley to talk about it. I think it's interesting. I think it's humorous. I think it's scandalous. And who better not to have than our brother, our main man, Georgetown hero, legend, Dr. Mike Simpson. To talk about it, because I was
waiting to turn my camera off. I figured the day tripper was coming on.
Unfortunately, Chet is not coming on because
he canceled at the last.
Well, he's actually premiering his spring episode right now.
Oh,
so literally 50 feet from my office is his. And he's having a launch party for a spring episode right now, which I might be watching on one of my devices.
Well,
but I won't be distracted.
You're a little bit choppy, so you're probably stealing some internet from yourself. So you got to watch that.
Yeah, we're definitely probably stealing each other's bandwidth. No, so we got Dr. Mike Simpson on the special episode because, as everyone knows, Mike's been on the show. The good doctor has been on the show many times. He's the Alec Baldwin of this show because of how many times he's made guest appearances.
I think
it's something I did on an airplane. I thought is what you were going to say.
no,
Maybe.
no, but I think you are now our number one most repeated guest. You've surpassed
Really?
David Bellavia. Yeah, I think
No,
you've surpassed
you and
Dave.
Bellavia are like neck and neck, but I think you inched him by one.
Yeah.
Although, like, Bellavia is probably going to call in just so he can, retain his
Right.
title. He's like the Steve Martin of the show.
just so he can be on.
Because that's really what it isn't that medal he got. It isn't the medal he got. It's being on Stu and the Nunn. That's really what he told me personally. That's his biggest life accomplishment. It means the most.
I heard him say that in a speech somewhere.
At the Pentagon,
where he also said that we had millions of listeners. I was like, man, I hope we don't get sued for libel or something. But anyway,
well, you have millions of listens.
yes,
we do.
Yes,
that is
Yeah.
true. That is true.
That's like if you look at my podcast and if you look at all of the downloads over 5 years for every single episode, it's like 1.5 million. So, but I don't have 1.5 million listeners. I have 1.5 million listens.
yeah.
No, our numbers. This is our 8th year. This is our 207th. Even though it's episode 202 will be tomorrow night. This is our 207th actual episode. But anyway, hey, so the reason we got you on, because there has been straight up shenanigans happening south.
Craziness.
So I'm gonna tell a little bit of a backstory to why I'm so fascinated by this. I have a very dear friend, a business mentor, a guy that I admired, a ton, non-military guy, but one of the savviest business guys I've ever met in my life. A guy that's, really impacted and changed my life business-wise and has inspired me to, follow my dreams. So, big shout out to my man, Mr. White. And, him and I, exchange, really interesting text messages. They're not quite as, humorous as, text messages like the Tim texts. Should I tweet this? Those are by far the most entertaining in my life. But my man hits me up, and he's like, hey, there is a $10 million to $25 million reward from Maduro from the U.S. government. You, Doc Simpson, and the crew should go get him and get paid. And so I get this text message. This is at night, so I know that there's probably been some brown water involved. And I sit there for a few moments. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to get inspired. Let me fire up Netflix. So I go up to my movie room. I turn on the Netflix up there, and I'm like, let me watch a little Trifrontera. Let me get a little Netflix in me. Let me see how pros really do. And we start texting back and forth about, what is going to happen. And I say then that night, Wisdom Brown, somebody is, going to be like, well, I was in the Army once, and I'm a cool guy. I'm a shooter. I've been to SHOT Show. I've talked to somebody cool in the club, and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to get paid.
I went to a 2-day Tony Blauer Spear seminar.
Yeah. So that's what it was, right? The bounty was put out there, and some guy, he started himself a little contracting company, put a cool picture up with us in front of a helicopter. Got his picture in a few places, got the rub elbows with a few people. And is that where we know they decided to take that and contact some other buddies and said, hey, want to split 25 mil and go.
Here's what I think I know. Here's what I'm kind of gleaning from it. So they stood up Silver Corp as it's like the old school. That used to be the thing back in the 80s and 90s when guys would get out of Rangers, get out of SF, and they're like, I'm a security contractor, right? This is before the boom and all the PMCs. So there would be a security contractor. I'm a consultant, right? So supposedly they would consult with all these big companies, tell them how to run their security, maybe do some security for them until they hired other people.
Some
and then
some red team
get
stuff,
paid
that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh.
Am I freezing up?
Yeah, you froze up for a second.
We have some lag. If you go to the Silver Corp USA website, it what I get from, like, if you watched it with the sound off, you would think it was an advertisement for trail running shoes, because all the
Uh-oh. You're freezing up again on us, Mike. Toby, you're streaming too much.
I went to a dawn. Oh, man. Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Okay.
Hey, Zach. I think I know what the problem is.
Get off the Xbox.
Yep.
There's a teenager in that house getting after some Call of Duty right now. There's some Fortnite.
He's on Snapchat while he's playing Xbox. He's doing Snapchat, and he's probably texting a couple young ladies and all that at the same time.
It was Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft.
Yeah.
How old is he?
I have the same affliction.
So he's about to be 19, but he's an architecture major. So if you would see what he does on Minecraft, It's actually truly astounding.
Nice. Mine's playing GTA right now. So
okay. So as I was saying, Silver Corp USA. Apparently, I saw these pictures. I didn't see them on the website, but he went to a Donald Trump rally and wore an earpiece, and then made sure that people took pictures of him with the earpiece, so it would appear that he was doing security. I think those are. My opinion is that those are probably just bullshit pictures. I don't think he was actually doing security at these events, but somehow or another, he got put in touch with the elected Venezuelan president, who is living.
We're losing Mike again. That Minecraft is taking.
And if there's a contract somewhere, it should be shut down now.
Okay, now you're back. Yeah, it seems to be.
You're back, and now you're back.
And now I'm back. Sorry, guys.
The good thing is all the news outlets are doing all their interviews the same way, so everyone's getting used to lag and choppy video, even on the major mainstreams. Right. We were cool like that before it was cool. Everyone's bush league.
But apparently they had some kind of contract with the Venezuelan government in exile for the number I saw was $212 million. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, and that's a hefty sum of money. But what I got to figure is that basically what the agreement was $212 million, on delivery, not we're going to finance you for $212 million. If they were financing them for $212 million, then they really have no excuse to fail at that point. Because if you got the money up front, because to me it's a no-brainer. So if I get $212 million up front, I'm hiring not two, I'm hiring 50 SF guys that I know, that I trust. I'm hiring 50 former 7th group guys. I'm like, you're getting $1 million each, and now we still got $171 million left to finance everything, to get everything, to grease all the people, to get stuff down there and everything like that.
Oh, we got you to freeze again.
He probably has sudden link.
Toby must have took your bandwidth. Usually Toby's the one that's freezing, but Toby's solid. All right, now you're back.
All right, so just to kind of surmise, this whole thing just reeks of y'all didn't think this through. This thing reeks of a private that got it, the installment on his enlistment bonus, thinks he's wealthy, and heads downtown to the strip club and thinks that he's going to buy his bride. and
and
he's
a new
gonna
Mustang.
And he's gonna get it for the rest of his life. Now, $200 million, like that's a lot of money, right? And they're gonna get this money. If they had, like you said, if they were being financed for that amount of money, they'd have hired a bunch of. But I am impressed, though. I will say they had a couple of 240s, so they'd converted a couple of Toyota trucks into technical vehicles. They had a couple of 240s. They had 17 Glocks, not Glock 17s. They had 17 Glocks. Here we go. Here we go. We are gonna do this.
What their long guns look like? Were they pretty tricked out, like their personal ones, or did they pretty?
No,
standard?
So they had some M16s, they had some M4s, they had AR-15, like the sporting model versions. They had a handful of Glocks, and they had an airsoft rifle. I'm not sure the purpose of the airsoft rifle. I was going to ask for Mike's, subject matter expertise, like. How often, when you're overthrowing a government, do you take a toy with you? Which is the second time a toy gun has been brought up in the news this week for two totally different things. I'm going to get to the second one later. But they really, made a pretty interesting attempt. They went for it. They pushed all in, and they got weapons. They tried training guys. They brought some cadre in to help train guys. And the exiled government were allegedly, not only their backers. This was their idea. This is their plan, and these were the guys that they went to go do it. Yes, this guy Jordan Goudreau, the great Quebecois, the French Canadian, because he's actually Canadian. He did go around allegedly saying down south anyway, because it comes up in 3 or 4 of the articles that he did claim that he provided security for the president of the United States, and tried to pimp himself as I'm the guy. And we see it, Mike, you said it earlier, a lot of guys get out of the special operations community and try to convert their military resume into high-paying contracts, either be it personal contracts, corporate contracts, and they try and get a paycheck off their skill set. That is not always the case. That is not always, the successful, plan. These guys somehow convinced a foreign government to not only hire them, they got manpower, they got vehicular assets, they got caught trying to flee via aircraft and boat. They pushed all in. They had great body armor. They had some really good encrypted radios. They had their Panasonic Tough books. I mean, they were playing the role, except they took Glocks to
with pistol braces. They had pistol braces. I mean, they were half retarded. But I'm gonna put bets on that at least one or both of them probably weren't in SF. I mean, there could be a chance of stolen valor here, right? There could be a little bit. I know.
No.
Oh, we validated they are.
I think they were. I believe they were.
Okay. Wow.
I think they were, and my understanding. So neither of them were former 7th Group guys, right? And of course,
I like how you
South
clarified
America
that.
Group's AOR.
Right. Oh,
were they at least 20th group?
19th or 20th, maybe.
20th works down.
They were. They were one of the active duty groups. Let's just say they would probably be more comfortable at Oktoberfest than they would
at Cinco de Mayo.
At a Cinco de Mayo, yeah.
That's really interesting because that is I mean, there's some language crossover. There's some language crossover, you know, with that theater of operations and the other theater of operations. But that kind of surprises me.
Well, I was thinking they probably were, you know, one was a 92 Yankee E4 for a while, and the other one was, you know, it was a Cav Scout and maybe an MP or something. But so at least they were Special Forces. Because, you know, like anytime you meet someone traveling, if they were a Scout, they were always an Eagle Scout. No one was ever anything but Eagle Scout. And you ever met them in the Army, they were always Special Forces, right? Everyone was Special Forces, Ranger, Sniper, Recon, right? So it just...
some of us, you know, were something else.
Or they were a striker guy. They always tout that, too.
Some of us were a striker. I don't know if you know this about me, but I was in the strikers. Like,
before we went on, Toby, you said that you would watch the interrogation. What does he pony up to in his interrogation?
So in his interrogation, and it's kind of, you know, you can. So he's being questioned in English, which to me, you know, was an indicator that he was not 7th Group. And the reason why I thought that immediately was like, if he had a comfort with the language, they would utilize that language for him, you know, because that way it's easier for them to exploit him on television. It's easier for, you know, them to, like, you know, mess him up and humiliate him in their language, you know, trip him up, you know, get him to say something innocuously, you know. So in my mind, if he was like that, opportunity for them to utilize the language against him. But he says that he goes to basic training for infantry at Fort Benning, Georgia, and then he goes on to become an aircraft crewman and goes to Germany. And he said he was only in the Army for 5 years. And so in the back of my mind, he's 34. He was only in the Army for 5 years. So I'm like, you know, I don't think he'd have gone through the X-ray pipeline and out in 5 years. Like, you know, the X-ray pipeline's about 2 years, and then you got a commitment after that. I don't think they do X-ray contracts for less than 6. I could be totally wrong. I'm sure there's a recruiter on here that can correct me. But his story in terms of his service didn't seem to make sense. And, you know, part of me was like, well, he's doing a good job, like, not giving up good information. He's doing his name. He's doing what he needs to do. And so part of me kind of my heart guy, because he's an Austin, Texas guy. You know, his mom's, you know, just got hit up on the news here today. You know, she said, you know, I quote, "Today's the first name she'd ever heard the name Jordan Goudreau." Like, she had no idea, like, you know, it's not like they were boys. This dude didn't come over, you know, Thanksgiving dinner or anything like that. She'd never heard of the guy. And, you know, I feel bad for him, you know, because he looks like a great Austinite. He looks very stereotypical Austinite. He's got, like, the cool facial hair. When I say cool facial hair, not like you, Grizzly Adams, but I mean, like, he's got it all waxed and shaped up like he's going to be downtown on Rainy Street hollering at the ladies.
Rainy Street.
That's right. And it just, it's hard to say. I want to watch it, but I'm also like, you know, look at them getting them on TV as quick as they possibly could. So they captured two Americans. I got to be careful when I say two of our guys, because I don't want anyone to think that they're actually affiliated with the American government or military.
Or the Stu and the Nunn show.
Or the Stu and the Nunn show, yeah. Like, the Stu and the Nunn, the masterminds behind Operation Gideon. Now, they have no connection to the U.S. government. In fact, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, his comments were a lot better than Secretary of Defense Esper's comments, because Secretary Pompeo was like, believe me, if we were actually involved in this, it'd have gone a whole lot different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's military. Like, Secretary Esper, the Secretary of Defense, he didn't be like, if I was involved, my department was involved, we'd have like wrecked some, he didn't. It was like that was.
But you got to remember, Pompeo used to run the CIA, so he knows how they would have executed that op.
He does know how, but it's like the diplomat versus the warfighter. The diplomat's like, no, like they're clearly not with us because we'd have wrecked you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's since Venezuela has been a socialist dictatorship, there have been multiple times that we could have gone in and just taken care of business. And, I think it's a testimony to the U.S. government that we haven't done so because, honestly, even before Chavez even took over in Venezuela, Venezuela military-wise was like the joke of South America. I mean, it's not even a contest. Anytime Colombia just wanted to go in there and just take Venezuela, they could do it. It would be no problem at all for a properly planned, properly funded, properly equipped U.S. operation to take down Maduro's army and probably, God, you think the Panama invasion was fast? This would probably be even quicker than that.
So did we train? And my memory isn't very good. Did we train any Venezuelan leadership at the School of the Americas?
Chavez got training at the School of the Americas, and I don't know about Maduro. Now, if memory serves, I mean, I didn't train him, but if memory serves me correctly, and keep in mind, I've been away from 7th Group since 2002, so this isn't something I've really kept my finger on the pulse of since then. But I believe he went to at least one course at the School of the Americas, and I had talked to a couple of different people in 7th Group that had interacted because he was a paratrooper officer, right? And basically everybody I knew that interacted with him said the same thing about him. They're like, he's a politician. It was known from the time that he was a lieutenant, and captain, that he was a politician. He's a rah-rah speech giving kind of guy. Was never in the best shape. Was never the smartest guy in the room, but he was always the loudest guy in the room. And he was always the guy that this was the comment that I heard about him that always stuck with me was he was always the guy. And we've all seen this guy in military schools, right? That you're done giving a block of instruction, and there's the one guy in the room that has to ask a question, not because he needs the answer to the question, but because he wants to show everybody how smart he is. Yeah. Like, I understand this at a level above everybody else in this room, and I'm going to show you that I'm actually on a peer level with the guy instructing it. And they basically said he was always that guy. Yeah. He was always the guy with the question that, if answered, was of absolutely no value other than to reinforce his ego. Yeah, yeah.
And so Tom Mead in our chat room. Tom Mead might have been 7th Group if my memory serves me correct. I believe he was. Yeah, and he said up until 2001, Venezuela sent officers to the Q course.
I don't know if it was up until 2001, but yeah, I know there were Venezuelan officers going to the Q course in the mid-90s. I know that for a fact because I remember seeing them. Yeah.
So were those, when they went to the Q course, was it, I know foreign officers went to a lot of our military schools of all flavors. And I know back when I was going there and they were there, it was always, there was always this story that someone came back, failed, they got executed or something. So they never failed. They got a certificate of attendance, right? They never, whether it's Airborne school or Jump Master school or any school, they got to ride through. They never got peered out. They never got anything. Was it the same way in Q course? Were they allowed to kind of keep riding the train even if they really weren't making the standard?
Yeah, there was somebody from SWIC at the time might deny this, but there was definitely a no failure policy.
Right.
I had a foreign exchange officer. I had an Algerian officer on my ODA in Robin Sage. and nice guy. Really friendly, good dude. Maybe from a combination of just not understanding the way we do business and the language barrier, there was a few areas where he came up short.
Oh, we lost. It froze up for a sec.
That's like the most
downloading.
unflattering freeze, too.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, was I making stroke face?
You were.
Yeah, you were. You had the vinegar strokes. You're like,
I got.
no. Can you? But
No,
I mean,
basically,
Robin Sage,
that's-
like, what an interesting thing. Like, for y'all, it's like a qualification exercise. For them, it's like a dress rehearsal, right?
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, depending on where they're from, yeah, it can be. And just like anything, I had two foreign exchange students in my Ranger School class, one of which was Turkish, and the incident you were talking about where somebody was killed, they were Turks. So he was the first Turkish student that had gone through in 10 years. So he was gonna pass. There was no two ways about it.
There's no recycling. There's no recycling when you get your head cut off.
No. So the Turkish captain made it through, and the sergeant from Ghana, who got to go to American Ranger School as a reward for winning a gold medal in the Pan American boxing competition. That was his reward. You get to go to American Ranger School. They both made it through.
I know a lot of infantry guys that would take Ranger School as a reward. Like.
Yeah, that's. I don't know if it's when your idea of, hey man, I'm going to go to the land of the big PX, but you're going to the land of the big PX to go to Ranger School. I don't know if that's a bonus. I don't know if it counts that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
This packing list.
yeah.
So let's get back on this thing in Venezuela. So we got these two guys. They were SF dudes. Another dude is an SF dude who tried to hang around the president, get some pictures made. You got 50 or 60 Venezuelans. They showed up on the beach looking like they were the Navy SEALs coming into Somalia, like with CNN on the beach waiting on them. Because the video I saw was the Venezuelan force was pretty much waiting on the shore for them. They pulled up like, yeah, let's come on. I mean, they knew their intel had leaked. Because they knew their landing location, they knew everything. So they had a mole in one of those 60 Venezuelans or something. But where do we go now? I mean, the State Department has said they're going to do everything they can to get them back, and that could be whatever that is. But I mean, in all reality, if two, regardless of citizens, went into another country and that country finds them guilty of trying to do something, do we have a leg to stand on? We really don't have much of a play.
Well, so we have a leg to stand on? Yeah, but it kind of depends on what the government wants to do. The fact of the matter is, and I mean, here's the deal. It's everybody who's been through the queue and got their long tab. These are all my brothers. The regiment is a fairly small community, and my heart goes out to this guys. We've kind of made light of it, but I'm not happy about the fact that anybody's in a Venezuelan jail somewhere.
Sure.
We can laugh about it. We can make memes about it because, this isn't just Monday morning quarterbacking. It's there were some pretty, in my opinion, some pretty obvious holes here and some pretty obvious mistakes that are made. And I think from the inception of this, and I don't have any inside information. I get I don't know either one of these guys personally. I've had people who know people tell me, yeah, I heard this guy was in this battalion, and I've heard that guy was in that battalion. So that's how I have it. I don't have anything firsthand. But the fact of the matter is, they're no longer wearing the uniform, and they're not working. You have black and white, and you have gray. It's black and white when you're wearing the uniform, and you're riding in your striker, and you're with the rest of your unit. Under an executive order or under act of Congress, whatever it might be. There are some gray areas when you talk about, operating under whatever it is, Title 9, Title 10, whatever it is, Title 9, I guess, things like that. And then there's some more gray areas when you're a private military contractor with a written agreement, with the United States government that you're going to provide X service. whether that's, keeping the DFAC running or providing convoy security or whatever it might be.
Right.
But when the only written document that you have is with a, duly elected but not recognized within the country leader, and you're operating under no, the international laws for that, Maduro can basically do whatever he wants with the knowledge that it's gonna incur an international opinion. So the big thing here is, basically that if I go out and I get caught doing something for the government, if I would have got rolled up by the Taliban, right? Or if one of the times that I may or may not have been somewhere that I may or may not have supposed to have been, but I was told to be there, something would have happened to me, the U.S. government would have stepped in and said, all right, he's working for us. What do we need to do to make this right? These guys didn't have that top cover. So the U.S. government, I don't think they're going to do it, but the U.S. government can just say, hey, you're acting as mercenaries, you're on your own. You're not that guy that got shot down in Nicaragua, back in the early 80s that we had an obligation to get because he was working for us. You're just some civilians at this point.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Go ahead, Toby.
They've kind of played a bad hand, and when I say they, I mean these mercenaries. Now, I wholeheartedly agree, with your sentiment that we are, for the purpose of conversation and banter, smiling and joking about some of the outcome of this. Mm-hmm. And it's really not that funny. We got some people that are probably not having a good day today, and especially a fellow person from Austin, Texas. So, with that said, I help. The United States government strategically, are also in a bad position. All right, so these guys aren't military guys. We currently don't have a status of forces agreement with Venezuela. Correct. Venezuela is a country whose previous leaders have enjoyed coming on American soil to go to the United Nations to berate, to insult, to incite. This is an opportunity on a silver platter for them to gain some
international. I think it's some international swagger here, right? I
mean,
they're gonna get some mileage,
some juice.
Yeah, they're gonna.
They got some street cred, because they not only interrupted something, and they can say whatever they want in terms of what they interrupted, what they intercepted, what they captured. When you own the information, you can bend it all you want, according to John Mayer. But they're absolutely right. They have all the cards, and the bargaining power of the United States government is limited, because if you bargain too much, well, regardless of truth, you're kind of like taking credit for their actions, and this clearly is not the actions of the United States government.
Right.
If you underplay it and you just let the guys stay there and rot, well, you're not really doing your and it comes back to the old Bo Bergdahl, right? You have a guy that's deserted. We still made efforts to go and get them. We're not going to make the same efforts, for mercenaries that we would go. And this reminds me of, the British mercenaries that tried taking, was it Sierra Leone? One which was the son of Margaret Thatcher. And, they got hemmed up, and they got captured, they got caught. And, the United Kingdom, kind of had to, do like Mike said and demonstrated, and let them take their lumps. And everyone here's got Nat Geo. Everyone here's probably seen at least one episode or a part of an episode of Locked Up Abroad. It ain't good. And so, on that end, these guys really, when they made this move, and it was a bold move, they really forced the hand of the American government, and they forced the hand of the Venezuelan government, and they kind of served themselves up because there's no coming back from it. There's no PR plans. How Goudreau, hopped in a boat and he was like charging his way down there to like try and rescue him himself or whatever. And he's on trying to like take credit and take responsibility for the failed attempt. But dude, you messed up. Like they got Americans now, and like those Americans are in a really bad spot. And a lot of it is because planning was not obviously.
They didn't do they didn't do the 1/3, 2/3 for sure. The one thing you brought up, Toby, which was interesting, right? That the U.S. can only, in my opinion, can only go so far in trying to negotiate release without it starting to appear and be media fodder to say, see, the U.S. was sponsoring this. They're trying so hard, right? They can only go so far. They can't pay ransoms. They can't do that because then it shows like we're going to the nth degree to get them back, which will be played out in the world stage as a sign of guilt or admission that that the U.S. government was sponsoring this. So they have really put themselves in a bad spot. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out. We don't have a great rapport with Maduro. Obviously, we don't even recognize him as the leader. We recognize the other guy as the leader, and which is what these guys were supposedly in there working for. And that guy's already disclaimed them and said, no, I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
So
you think he wants anyone to know he's got a couple $100 million laying around? That's the very first. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. They said, what? $200 million? I don't got that money. What you talking about?
And it also it lends credit to. Well, if the U.S. believes this guy's the real leader and this guy's sponsoring, then again, is the U.S. by proxy connected to this, right?
Yeah.
So he has to distance himself, even if he did put this whole thing on.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know we're trying to, we started out a little bit funny and we tried to make it a little bit more serious, but I just had this really funny thought that I have to share is I wonder as they were on the beach in the moment that they got compromised, if just a flicker went through their mind that maybe if they pulled the trick from Tommy Boy and would have started going, murder wasps, run for your lives. They could have got back
from Asia. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they could have probably played a lot of things just like where are the Venezuela hookers at? They like where's Marty? Where's Rio? Are we not in Brazil? My bad. Back this boat.
Oh man, yeah, it's the line from Stripes. Where the hell is Innsbruck, Austria? I am so lost right now.
Exactly. Yeah, they should have had that. That could have been in their contingency planning. They should have had what if we get caught?
I think in all seriousness, I hope that this will stand up as an example to people, to anybody out there who maybe got out of the military. They look in the mirror every morning and they think, I have a very particular set of skills acquired over many years in the military, and they're getting offers for stuff like this. Okay, what you're seeing here is not the exception. Like there aren't hundreds of successful operations going on out there, and this is the exception. You hear there's certain organizations that go like if the father takes the daughter and goes back to country X, there are people that will represent the mother's interest and go get them, right?
Right.
There's people that are chasing down human traffickers. There are people that are certainly chasing down international bounties, right? Things of that nature. Okay, but the commonality that you have with all these is, they're taking on the risk. Two, they're going and taking down. They're going to right wrongs against private citizens. They don't think that they're going to topple a government with a couple of SF guys and whatever it was, 300 Venezuelan volunteers or whatever.
I think it was 60. I think it was 60.
Was it 60? The biggest number that I heard was 300. So, and that's
a bold move.
Bold
move, Cotton.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, because to me, just the core cadre would have been that size. Just the core cadre of the American trained guys that I trusted would have had to have been, that size. You figure, one or two SF companies as a minimum to then stand up the force that you were with. And that's not what these guys did. And you have to recognize, in spite of all the bad stuff that can happen to you in warfare, again, like I said earlier, that if your aircraft goes down in a bad place, or the target doesn't go like you thought it was going to go, or you get separated in the convoy, there's an IED, that there's going to be those helicopters overhead. We have not forgotten about you. We will get you out. That backup is there, and these guys were going in with no net, and it would have to be more than money for me. It would have to be that I had some type of really personal, emotional connection with needing to take that regime down, or I had a terminal brain tumor and I only had 6 months to live anyway, and I wanted to go out with my boots on. It would have to be a lot more than just money, because there's jobs like this out there that they could have done from any number of companies, whether we're talking about Triple Canopy, whatever Blackwater's calling themselves this week.
Yeah.
Those jobs are out there.
Right.
They all,
and they're sanctioned,
qualified for those jobs.
Yeah, sanctioned. They're sanctioned contracts and all that kind of stuff. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
No, we're getting short on time, but no, it's really, when we started talking about this, it is so. This is Hollywood. Like this is the effect of like people watching Hollywood, listening to, no offense, Alex Jones, 100% of, talking about, Jade Helm a few years ago, like, a couple of ODAs are going to come into Texas and they're here to take over Texas. Like, that's not how it works. And like those numbers those are Hollywood numbers. Like, yeah, you might get, some really high end guys with a lot of support into like a small place in Pakistan to like find like the most wanted dude on earth. But what you're not going to get is a couple of dudes sitting around a campfire watching Ranger television, drinking brown water, coming up with a plan to overthrow government and have the emotional buy-in to do it. Like you said, like, so, it's got Netflix written all over it. We're definitely going to imagine it'll probably be, what was that? Dogs of War? Was that the Seth Rogen? Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
True story, kind of. Like it's probably going to be one of those movies.
Yeah, the arms dealer guy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Somewhere between that and The Interview by Seth Rogen. Yeah. but it's.
So what you're saying is Judd Apatow is going to direct it, whatever movie they make.
Yeah, probably.
The sad part, though, is like you said. We got some Americans that did do their time, that did serve this country. From most understandings, they seem to have done it honorably. There's some questions. Everything I've found about this Jordan Goudreau guy, the blemish being Canadian. In every report, there's a blemish about him being investigated for defrauding the government out of $62,000 in housing benefit. That's a lot of BAH. Like 62 grand and like overpaid 62 grand in BAH. Like,
was he stationed in Hawaii? Because that's like Hawaii BH. Like that's
like he's like I'm like in like that's some downtown San Francisco in the Castro kind of money. But the it's it's unfortunate those guys are like behind bars, but like. The SAS guys turned, mercs that did the Sierra Leone deal. Like, hey, you reap what you sow. And you go in the private sector, and I felt this way about Blackwater. I felt this way about a lot of those companies. You see those guys going around acting all cowboy and maverick, and like getting those big fat paydays. And when they do like stupid stuff, like shooting up traffic circles, and like, I'm not saying they actually did that, but I'm just saying, like, that's an example. You come to where you're at. The host nation's laws, you are a guest of the. And if you go into a country and you act a fool, like I've been in foreign countries and, might have been intoxicated. Like if I'd have got jammed up, like I'd have had to deal with that. So, I feel bad that they're dealing with it in the way that they are. However, you reap what you sow. And, when you're sitting around drinking that brown water, staring at the range of television, devising a plan to overthrow a South American country, you got to come better than, like 17 Glocks and a couple of 240s. You can't be bringing airsoft to a gunfight.
Yeah. And I got to say, this was something that early, when I froze up earlier, this was something I was kind of heading to is, I didn't really feel like I understood the AOR, and not even the whole AOR. I can't say that I really understood all of South America. I spent most of my time in Colombia, so I felt by the time I had about 8 years in group, and I was a mid-grade sergeant first class, work on my way in and out of the from senior medic to the 18 Fox intel slot. That's when I felt like I had a grip on who the players were, what the attitude was, the way the Colombian army operated, the way government and politics in Colombia operated, the way the narcos operated, the way things were expected to go down. So it really wasn't until, again, 8 years in group, concentrated on an AOR, really concentrated a lot on one specific country, and I finally felt like I started to understand when I put an IP out in front of me, I started to understand it. And at that point, I could have been a planning asset in planning major type operations, which there's no doubt that what these guys were planning was a major type operation. And, there's, somebody who's been in group, and I don't know honestly how long any of these guys were in group. I have zero idea. But I would say anybody that has less than 6 years and has been involved in the higher level planning, UW planning, and all this other stuff, they shouldn't even think that for a moment that they can take a whack at this. If somebody approached me today and said, "We want you to plan a maritime takedown of an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico," I would say no fucking way. I am in no way qualified to do that. Go find yourself a SEAL to plan that operation. So you have to know what your capabilities are, and I would say it's even harder. Even if these guys had been 7th group guys, which again the word I have is that they were not. Right now, we're talking about guys in SF that they got 1 foot in the global war on terror and 1 foot in whatever AOR that they're responsible for. So it takes them 2-3 times as long to kind of develop that knowledge about their AOR.
Yeah, you brought up a good thing about limitations, right? I mean, it's been a few days since I was in when I retired, but I remember a key part of the planning process was knowing your capabilities and limitations of your units and those on your flank, right? So, but more so, what your unit, what are you capable of? Are you running a squad, platoon, battalion, whatever? What assets do you have to bear? What can you do? And then you come back and say, I can do this mission or not, right? Especially when I was in the Lurch side, when we had to go in isolation, do our mission planning, and come back and brief how we could win over every other team. So obviously those concepts are core, and you know this, but for our listeners and viewers, those are core fundamentals of planning an SF, any fit operation, any kind of operation like that where you're going with a small unit, and what are you capable of doing. So it's obviously that part was missed or forgotten about, because I think you hit on the head, Mike. If someone's been in for a while, they would know the hair would stand up. The red flag's like, wait a minute, or, we always know, right? We want 2 or 3 shooters to every one of their one. We never want a fair fight, right? You're not going. It ain't a fair fight with one other person you can trust and 60 dudes that you kind of talk to every once in a while. So it was definitely. It'd be interesting to hear if we can ever get that intel out, or we can ever get a debrief on this. Maybe if we can ever, hopefully, get those guys back to find out how this thing all happened. What intel or what were they fed that made them think that this was even feasible? Because if they are qualified Special Forces soldiers that have been through everything they've been through just in training, they know better than this. I can't imagine they're blinded by money. I just can't see it.
Yeah. The big question would be, because I'm not even 100% sure on what their objective was supposed to be. Was this a full-on government overthrow? Right. Was this an assassination attempt? Was this, what was this? I don't even know, because it's way too big a footprint to be any type of reconnaissance mission. It's way too big a footprint to be taking down an HVT or any type of assassination attempt, and it's way too small to think you're going to go in there and secure any objectives. Unless they had been spoon-fed some line of bullshit that, as soon as we hit the ground, everybody's going to throw down their farm implements, pick up a gun, and get right in line behind us. That was the line from Napoleon. He said, you get me to shore, and and I will walk to Paris, and by the time I get to Paris, I'll have an army behind me. Right? Is that what they thought was going on? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see for sure. We wanted to talk some COVID stuff tonight. Obviously, you're a doctor, and last time we had you on, we want to talk about that. We do want to wrap and be respectful of your time and everyone else's. But since we last had you on, I do want to give you a moment. Is there anything from when we last had you on, Mike, that we were trying to understand this whole pandemic as it was panning out and going, that you just want to leave us with any words of wisdom or any thoughts or new revelations you've had?
Yeah. Just, Texas is in phase 1 right now. Barbershops are opening up this weekend, which I'm ecstatic about. Gyms will be opening up on the 18th, which I'm equally ecstatic about. Be respectful of it. Be respectful of the social distance. I understand that there's a lot of personal objections to being told to do certain things. I don't want to get into that because it's philosophical, but what I would say is, just take care of yourself, take care of your family. Don't go out of your way to break a rule just because you object to the rule. If you were wearing a mask before, now that you're told to wear a mask, now you're not going to wear one. Don't be that guy, is all I would say. And also don't be surprised if the goalpost gets moved, because we could very easily get to the 15th, 16th this month and have a spike in hospitalizations, because that's the key number, right? That's the trend of the sick people, not the new cases. If we get a spike in hospitalizations, Governor Abbott might decide to kick the can down the road for another couple weeks. I know this is happening to everybody. People are losing their jobs. Some are getting just furloughed. Some are just being outright, hey, we're not even going to reopen. And that, my heart bleeds for that. And let's not lose sight of what's important, which is being responsible adults and sticking together and being our brother's keeper as we move forward with this.
Awesome. Okay, Mike, well, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. It's good to see you again. Man, we've been blessed to have you on twice in a month, and I didn't even have to be gone for you to be here, which is great. And thank you. Toby, you got any final words before we wrap up?
No, that's it. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, man, I look forward to this being over soon, and we can do this in June, and I'll be in the same room together drinking a beer.
There we go. That's it.
I love it.
Maybe at a great place like Mesquite Creek Outfitters, just a name.
Who knows?
Oh yeah.
MCO. Currently open for retail and to go beer and wine, but not for sitting down and drinking. I watched the commercial.
That is true. That is the truth. No, it's awesome that we've been able to get these extra episodes in. We really appreciate it, Mike. Tomorrow we got our regular episode. We have a really good guest. We got Anna Paulina Luna, who is an Air Force veteran that is running for Congress. If you're familiar with her, she's on PragerU a lot. She's one of their field operatives / reporters. So super excited to have her on. Always great to see veterans running for Congress and, taking it to the Hill, with the passion that they have of the service. I really enjoyed watching Martha McSally yesterday, dealing with the president at the Honeywell in Arizona. I love seeing veterans serving. Brian Mast. I love seeing this stuff. Tom Cotton, since we were talking about bold moves earlier.
Dan Crenshaw.
It's great. So tune in tomorrow for episode 20, the Duo Deuce, and we will go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I got normally Mind of the Warrior comes out on Tuesday. It's coming out on Thursday this week. It's coming out tomorrow because my guest reported today, and my guest it is Will Chesney, Navy SEAL and K9 handler who was on the line.
Oh, say that one more time. You got broken up. Who was on what?
Will Chesney, so Navy SEAL, and he was the K9 handler. He was Cairo's handler on the Osama bin Laden raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan, 2011.
And he's your guest on your podcast coming out tomorrow.
Coming out tomorrow morning. Yep.
All right. So Mind of the Warrior.
All right.
I'll be tuning in. I got that on my subscription. Yep, I got that on my subscription. I got you right up there. You, Ted Cruz, Dan Bongino, and who's that wrestling dude? You know what I'm talking about, Toby.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. Joe Rogan, dude.
Wrestler? Oh, he's not a wrestler.
You know what I mean? MMA, whatever.
Wash your mouth.
Whatever.
But hey, that's a good lineup. I got Mind of the Warrior. I got Ted Cruz too. That guy's just spitting fire right now. The #1 podcast in the world. Joe Rogan Experience. I do got the Jocko. I got to do it in spurts because I can only have like so much black and white in my life. I got to keep the color up in there. And then I got a little below the belt with Brandon Schaub. So you got to keep it funky and funny sometimes.
But always, but everyone
tune in tomorrow night.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow night. And of course, you can have Stu and the Nunn in your podcast because we are broadcast there too. So everyone, what's that, Tope?
No, that's right.
Yep, that's right.
Subscribe on iTunes. Follow on the IGs.
That's right.
And thanks to our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company. Shout out Colton Smith.
That's right. Veteran Outdoors and BooHammer.com. We will see you guys tomorrow night, Thursday night, 8 o'clock here on Stu and the Nunn. Thank you, Dr. Mike, for coming on doing a special show. And we will see everyone tomorrow night for our double feature. Good night, everybody. Why isn't my music playing? Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.